welcome to Glitch Please, the show where we talk about video games every week, and oh boy, is there a lot to talk about this week. I'm Ashley.
Gus.
Adam.
And special shout out to our sponsors for this episode, Squarespace and the Rooster Teeth store, because we can sponsor ourselves. That's cool. So there's a lot to talk about this week. Hey, in fact, you know what? We're in the process of, we just brought on Eric Vespi, formerly of Ain't It Cool, who's doing his famous holiday guide, his geeky holiday guide for us this year. We're using Squarespace to build it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's like legit.
So you're going to build it beautiful.
Exactly. So there's been a lot that's been going on in games. We are now at the sort of final couple weeks of big releases for the year. The big release this week is Battlefront, and oh boy, is there
Battlefront, is that coming out?
to talk
I
about,
haven't heard much about that.
With that game, but before we get too overwhelmed by the number of things to talk about with this particular game, what else have you been playing?
I'm still in the middle of Shadow of War.
Wow.
So
I love that game.
How far in it would you say you are?
I think I'm pretty close to being done with it. But for me, so I have difficulty playing this game because if I see any orcs that I don't control, I must control them. So it's like I have to go through and control everything before I move on.
Maybe the twist for Shadow of War 3 is Shadow of, I don't know, whatever, the Shadow of Celebrimbor. That's what I'm going to call it. Because here's what I think is going to happen. I think that the final twist of this entire saga is going to be the I Am Legend. You are the monster. Look what you just said, Gus. You can't not mind control the orcs.
Yeah,
you have to have all of them. You're bringing all of them under your control. You know what?
I can control them. I can do good.
Do you think Celebrimbor has more influence than you think? Like, you think maybe he's controlling you a little more than you want him to?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
But it's a fun game. I tweeted about this the other day, but I encountered
I think I saw this where you're like, it's gonna be fun to take that guy over.
Yeah, I found an orc.
Yeah,
or an Urk
you said he
called,
was a nerd and you wanted to give him a wedgie.
His name was Tugog the Poet. And he actually, all of his lines were delivered in rhyme.
I love those little touches.
And so I found Tugog the Poet, and I tweeted about him, and I controlled him. And then, like an hour later, I found another Urk that was like, whatever, something, the Rhymer. And he also had the same mechanic. I was like, but he's not as good. Like, he's a rhymer. He doesn't even know that the word poet exists. He's like a stupider version of the other one. And he also had that same stupid hat on.
It's really awesome.
It's fun to see when developers clearly had a good time, probably chuckling to themselves, working
there's Tugog the Poet.
In a corner. Oh, look how happy Tugog the Poet is.
Like, but I love that he was sickly.
Like out there, living his life. He can't go outdoors because he's got allergies or something. So he spent all his time making beautiful poetry.
Yeah, it's.
You like it?
Until you came along and took his mind from him.
I mean, I didn't take it. I just convinced him that he should be on my team.
You basically gave him a love potion.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're great. Someone mentioned that there's like a Kumail Nanjiani orc in the game.
I haven't encountered it. Yeah, I've heard about that. I haven't seen that though.
All right.
Man, anytime I hear him as a voice actor in anything, it's always Kumail to me.
Mm-hmm. He was in Andromeda. He played one of the people.
Yeah, and that's all I heard was Kumail.
Mm-hmm.
He's just got such a distinctive voice and way of speaking that I will recognize his voice the instant I hear it in absolutely anything. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
Very funny. I like him.
We had him on the RT podcast once.
Yeah.
Did you? I didn't know that.
So what you been playing? You got fun?
Yeah, I've been playing a couple things. One of them is board game.
I was going to say, are any of them video games? One of them
is board game. One of them is video game. Listen, I have to split my time now. Playing a little bit of Wolfenstein. That game is sweet. That game, Ryan has mentioned this, and I'll speak in vague terms as well. But the intro to that game is intense. They make you go through a lot of things to get into the story, but it's a
lot of character establishing work.
Right, and it's a lot. For some reason, when I think of Wolfenstein, I think of very lighthearted Nazi killing fun. This is not lighthearted as you may think. It's like there's some serious shit in the beginning of that game, and there's they try to provoke emotion, which may or may not be effective depending on who you are. But then the killing is just as good as you expect. Pretty early on, they give you like this giant laser cannon that will evaporate enemies, and also the environment and the effect is really great. So like you're shooting at an enemy, he ducks behind like a grate, and it will just like evaporate, and then he's just sitting there like naked, and you shoot him, and he evaporates. It's so good, man.
I feel like that's a game I'm not going to get to this year, but I really want to play.
I don't think it's that long.
Then great for you, Gus, that it's not hitting Switch when it hits everywhere else. You can just use that as an excuse. Be like, no, I really want to play it on Switch, so I'm just going to wait.
Just gonna wait, yeah.
There you go.
Think it's coming to the Switch? Is it coming to the Switch?
It is, but it's not coming to Switch yet.
Okay.
It's early 2018.
Got it.
I think Bethesda is bringing a lot of their stuff. Skyrim's hitting Switch, which I'm checking out a little bit. Doom, so they're working on bringing the library, but Wolfenstein 2, for whatever reason, didn't make date.
It seems like they're one of the big third parties that's really leaning into the Switch and bringing a lot of their stuff to it.
I think they're one of the first third parties that decided to make that move. I think a lot of them are behind by several months at least, as they're all like looking and being like, oh, interesting. Oh, what?
Yeah, how many units did it sell?
Yeah. Exactly. Right. So I think that Bethesda sort of got in ahead of the curve on a lot, which is why we're seeing so many games from them at the moment. But we'll see more third parties as we get there.
I also played Dead Cells put out an update called the Brutal Update. And I'm not sure all of the patch notes, but they added stuff, which is good. But that game has changed a lot in the past 6 or so months that it's been out. And it is just as good as ever. I don't know, have you guys played Dead Cells at all?
No, you recommend it to me all the time, but I've got so many games I'm behind on.
This is a game you can jump into for 30 minutes and just do a run. It's like a Spelunky-esque game where it's a roguelike.
Is it on Switch?
Not yet, but I mean maybe one day. But it is. They've added a lot of weapons. They've changed some of the mechanics. They've added extra abilities. Like I think wall jumping is one of those that they added. But man, is it still really good? And if you haven't played that game, totally worth checking out. Even in its early access state. I don't have much to say about that other than it's real fun.
Apparently there's rumors of it coming to the Switch, but there's no official announcement.
It would be a game that makes sense on the Switch.
Well, there are a lot of reasons to be bringing a lot of games to Switch, mostly because that way I can play them, and I want to play all of them on the go wherever I happen to be. The Switch has really driven home to me that as much as I love really, really awesome graphics, and we'll talk about it more with Battlefront 2 because that's one of its strengths, is just being absolutely mind-blowingly gorgeous. I'm willing to sacrifice a lot of that stuff to take that experience with me.
I think that's the bet Nintendo was making, and I think it's paying off.
I agree, but it's more like take it to bed so I can just lay in bed and play before I go to sleep.
Yeah.
It's
you want to play with yourself in bed before you go to sleep?
Sure. I guess you could say that. So.
I did. I could, and I did.
What have you been playing, Ashley?
I've been playing a lot more Super Mario Odyssey. I was traveling a bit over the past weekend. I went out to LA. I took Eric Vespi out there. We were working on some stuff with the premiere of The Disaster Artist, so that stuff should be up on the site this weekend. And that was a lot of fun, but it meant planes, it meant hotels, it meant, I don't. Now that I've got a Switch, I actually don't take a gaming laptop because they're heavy and they're just a little bit less convenient. So I just take a tiny little light laptop and my Switch.
Sure.
And so far that's working out really, really great for me. With the caveat that for a lot of the games that are coming out already for Switch, I have a powered seat on an airplane because Mario Odyssey in particular, I'm discovering is just an absolute drainer on the battery. So really? I really do need to play it plugged in as much as possible.
I still get a few hours out of it, it feels like.
Yeah, like 2.5.
All right.
Most of a flight to LA.
Most of a flight to LA.
I've just been doing the power banks. They're awesome.
Yeah, I do carry a power bank everywhere now, and I carry it in my Switch case.
Do you use motion controls on the plane?
No.
Yeah.
No, listen.
No, I feel like this is like, I tried.
I made fun of someone the other day for not using motion controls on a plane, and then I was on a flight the other day, and I was like, I'm not using motion
Why
controls.
would you use motion controls on a plane?
It's like easy
Well,
to, like, with Odyssey.
Look how small the seats are. I can barely put my arms anywhere.
Well, look, I can see it to some degree. Let's say you're a window seat and you're off, and you're in your little corner, and you put out the little thing, so it's like on its table, and you got your little controllers. You can just do this.
Yeah.
Wiimote style. Because you remember
We're a lot smaller than you.
Putting the switch in the table for me is like here. This is where it goes, so I have to go like this.
See,
it's impossible.
yeah.
For me, the way I play the Switch is like this, because it's the only way I can hold it.
See,
I'm so big.
I'm like compact enough.
sucks.
I'm travel size, so a lot of that stuff works a lot better for me because like I'm lower, so I got a better angle on the screen. I will say that I wish there were multiple settings for the kickstand in the back, so that you could have it either facing most of the way up.
Right.
Because right now it is at a pretty straight up angle.
That kickstand's
and
kinda
even for
dinky.
me, I wish it could be better. Well, the kickstand's designed to pop off.
I know, right? Because it's
So,
gonna,
which makes a lot of sense, and it's a very Nintendo thing to do. Be like, yeah, this is gonna get broken. Let's just design for that.
Right.
right.
But multiple settings on it would be nice.
Yeah, it's true.
I know you can get cases that
I
do
wonder,
that,
do you think you'll see like a aftermarket third party?
where you just like pop your own off and then like put
in
theirs
the third
on.
party
Maybe.
that's like longer or.
Well, the position it's in doesn't give a lot of room. I mean, maybe it does. I'm just trying to think about how that would work. Yeah. whatever.
Yeah. If there was some sort of sweet aftermarket kickstand for the Switch, I would consider getting one. I mean, I'm already all about the custom Joy-Cons.
Oh, dude, those things are so sweet.
I love my Joy-Cons. Fwiz, Ryan Wyatt from YouTube, he was like, "Where did you get them?" And now he has a pair.
Oh yeah, they're really.
We're spreading.
Yeah, they're a little too expensive, but
They are pricey.
do think they're really cool.
I like to justify the fact that I spent so much money on them as the customization was about $100, and then the cost of Joy-Cons.
Ben just sent me a link. Apparently, there are officially licensed play stands for the Switch.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. That's great. That doesn't sound plane friendly. That sounds like another thing you have to haul around.
It's not that big. It folds down flat,
Okay, folding flat. I like that. That's all good.
and then you can get different angles and stuff.
So potentially, if that can fit in my Switch case, that would maybe do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all great.
Thanks, Ben.
How many stars you got in Super Mario Odyssey?
I don't know. Like
Or moons, sorry.
two-
Power moons.
200 maybe?
Gotcha.
Like somewhere in that range.
So
I don't
you're
have
being judged like me then.
No, I need you guys to catch up so you can experience that level because
the
it's.
super hard level. I'm already living in terror of that now. Thank you, Adam.
I love that game. I wish. The one thing I will say about that game, I wish there was more of the sort of breakout levels. The ones that are like you go down a pipe and you have 2 stars in an area to get, and they're just like they're compact and fun and challenging. And I really love the exploration of the game, but I feel like too many times I'm literally just walking and there's a star when I spin my camera and it's sitting right there. Like there's a little too much like they're laying around.
Well, you found all the easy ones. Like you said, you have 300 to go now. Now you're about to start finding the rest of them.
Right, but I want a challenge to get to them rather than just like an Easter egg hunt. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Well, it's little column A, little column B. There are enough of them that if they want to make it, those are accessible for think of the little kids that are going to be playing.
Totally.
And that's I think that's
I just feel like
a good kind of Easter egg hunt for the kids.
Right. I think I exhausted all of the ones that are like little compact levels. So.
I really like the throwback 2D levels.
Oh my God.
It reminds
There's so
me-
many good ones of that.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it when they did it in Link Between Worlds.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, that game's so good.
And I love seeing it here. Just you jump in and it's this little 2D Mario. It's very classic, and I love that.
I love that they also have the different outfits in the 2D. Like no matter what you put on, you see the little 2D version of it as well.
There's a lot of work that went into little tiny details for Odyssey. So I'm really enjoying the experience so far, as long as I have somewhere to plug in.
It's a great game.
But new games have come out. Those new games, new game for this week specifically being Star Wars Battlefront 2. So I think we should talk about that. But before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about Squarespace. Like I said at the top of the show, we actually use them ourselves when we need special projects, like what we're doing for our holiday gift guide. And this episode of Glitch Please is brought to you by Squarespace. Whether you need a domain or a website or an online store, whatever, make your next move with Squarespace. Squarespace offers beautiful, award-winning designer templates, and you can create these really beautiful website or online stores with an award-winning template. It's an all-in-one platform. There's nothing to install, patch, or upgrade ever, and they've made it really, really easy to set up or transfer your domain on Squarespace. So instead of working with a bunch of vendors to maintain your online presence, you manage all of the domain and billing settings within Squarespace, and you can take advantage of their easy-to-use DNS interface too. Never been easier to sell products or services online. Squarespace allows you to manage your products, orders, and inventory easily. And you can start your free trial today at squarespace.com. Go to squarespace.com/glitchplease to get 10% off your first purchase. And speaking from experience, they're really good. Like, it's really cool to be able to you look at these different templates depending on what you want to get out of a site. You can select one, it takes care of all of that for you, and then you can start customizing colors and fonts and all of the images that you want. And it's just so easy too, especially if you're doing something like a blog. I've never used anything like it, where you can like drag in an image and it takes care of all the stuff for you, and you can just like start dragging it around and it pops in and out. But everything looks really, really clean. So it's fantastic. I can't say enough good things about Squarespace, and thanks to them for sponsoring this episode of Glitch Please and our discussion about Battlefront 2. All right, so yesterday we recorded an episode of Glitch Please. We were all talking about, like we always do on a Thursday morning, and we were getting all ready to put it out. And then before we even hit publish, EA issued a statement about microtransactions, which are kind of a hinging point of the discussion on Glitch Please.
We spent a lot of time talking about it.
We did indeed. So we wanted to just make a little bit of an update. We're going to leave the discussion after this because I think there's still a lot of points that we stand by.
Still pretty relevant.
Because, so EA issued a statement late last night, and they said specifically, as we approach the worldwide launch, it's clear that many of you feel there are still challenges in the design. We've heard the concerns about potentially giving players unfair advantages, and we've heard that this is overshadowing an otherwise great game. This was never our intention. Sorry we didn't get this right. We hear you loud and clear, so we're turning off all in-game purchases. We will now spend more time listening, adjusting, balancing, and tuning. This means that the option to purchase crystals in the game is now offline, and all progression will be earned through gameplay. The ability to purchase crystals in-game will become available at a later date, only after we've made changes to the game. We'll share more details as we work through this. And that statement came from Oscar Gabrielson, who's general manager at DICE.
This would have been a great update if it weren't for that last sentence that said, but
they'll return.
But they'll come back.
The thing that I don't get is, right, you're right. Like, that's shitty still. But it makes me still not want to play the game now, because now the only way to get progression is through in-game actions, which were already nerfed and fucked up to begin with.
Right,
they were
which
going
were already balanced to try to get you to
spend
pay.
money. So now it's just going to be a shitty experience where you can't unlock anything until they fix that.
And if you had EA access and you were playing early and buying these crystals and getting the crates and everything,
players are going to be dope.
EA access players who had that head start cannot be caught up with now through gameplay.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, part of this announcement should have been, we're rebalancing to make it easier to progress.
Right.
Well, I think that'll be
campaign
step
or through
2.
in-game.
But remember yesterday we were talking about, is there any way in 5 hours they can just yank all this out? And they kind of did.
Yeah.
They did. So I think honestly, I feel like it's important to give EA a little bit of credit here because this is going to lose them a lot of money.
I mean, pessimistically,
it's not money that they should have been banking on or building their game towards in any case, but it's not easy for a company to give up the revenue that's just on the table.
I wonder a couple things. First off, pessimistically, the me looks at this and says, we still need people to buy our game, and then once we're sold through the holiday sales, we'll re-implement this, we'll make a couple changes, and then it'll just be like it was. All right, great. And then we'll kind of screw over the player base as it is. But I wonder if this whole situation is going to incentivize companies to not include microtransactions at launch, but rather sell the game, get through the initial wave of sales where the bulk of your units are sold, then introduce microtransactions.
Well, I don't know.
because this is scaring this
I
right now. We're in a
disagree.
situation where players are scared away from buying buying the game.
I think that's because this was a very specific, poor implementation of it.
Right, but any game you look at pre-release, there's going to be negative sentiment around microtransactions. Period. If there wasn't that negative sentiment, if you just don't address microtransactions, you don't say they won't be in the game. You can say they won't be in it at launch, or you just don't say anything, and it doesn't sway people away from that. And then when the player base starts to slow down and you want to pick up some money from it, you implement
Yeah,
those.
but they're missing the largest part of their audience who are playing their game at launch.
Right, because you're going to have the most people playing the game. What I mean, unless you're something like Battlegrounds, you're gonna like the peak is that first month, and then you get the huge drop off. So
I get what you're saying. I'm wondering
their
if
biggest user pool is at launch.
I'm wondering if I don't know. It seems like this is specifically not a ploy. This is specifically an implementation to like say it's okay to come play our game. There's no microtransactions right now, and then like, later on, like bring them back. And I feel like that seems to be like I get what you're saying where they'll miss out sales, but if they're only wanting 2% of people to convert anyway, then what does it really matter? I mean, I guess it matters somewhat, but
Yeah, I think they're just trying to make sure that they don't lose as many sales of the game up front as they were expecting.
right. But if other games did the same thing where they didn't include microtransactions and would generate more upfront sales, and that would sort of negate the cost of the loss of not having microtransactions up front, but adding them later would still allow them to do that without catching flack and losing their initial sales.
Well, I think the important thing to note too is that there are a lot of steps to get to this point. It's very rare for a company to make this sort of shift. It happens occasionally. I know that like Turn 10 made some adjustments to earnings in Forza Motorsport 7 and that sort of thing. But it's pretty rare for a company on launch night to pull the plug on their microtransactions, even temporarily. But there are a lot of steps to how they got there. And it was, I think
They've been fucking up for a while.
it's been like this steady climb. There was the Reddit thread, or the Reddit comment that was downvoted, the disaster of an AMA, and that building across social media. So it started getting picked up with BBC and Forbes and all of those, like the financial types where, like professionals and other CEOs and people are paying attention to what's there. They don't give a shit about what's on Reddit. But then when you start advising people like, hey, the analysts think this isn't going to go great, that's when they start panicking. And reportedly, Bob Iger, the boss at Disney, called EA yesterday and was like, what the fuck?
Wow.
And then a few hours later, this statement went up and Crystals disappeared. The Crystals is just like the name for the version of credits
Let's
that you
obscure
buy.
your real money into this crystal
Yeah.
currency.
Yeah.
Now you don't feel as bad for spending $100.
What's a crystal? Who knows?
Well, it's like Microsoft points.
Right.
It's
Right.
it's midichlorians.
Yeah.
Oh, God. So I think it's a step in the right direction. Unfortunately, when microtransactions come back, it's not like they're completely overhauling them. They will at best balance them. So there will still be microtransactions in there that change the advantages in the game in favor of people who pay money. But I think at most what they're going to do is just readjust the grindiness of it.
I hope in the immediate future that they, again, I'm repeating something I said earlier, that they rebalance gameplay rewards in order
they have to
keep people playing the game, because like I'm definitely not playing that game.
Have you heard like most of the sentiment is like it takes way too long to unlock fucking anything.
Right.
And like if you want to save towards a hero, you're kind of like limping your what is the word? Handicapping yourself for the characters that you like. If you're playing a stormtrooper and you're trying to save for Darth Vader, like you're not spending your points on upgrading your stormtrooper, so you're going to be shitty all the way
For
up
a long time.
or you're going to buy stuff for the stormtrooper and not be able to afford Darth. It's like a shitty cycle.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's like making those trade-offs is like every game ever if you have to save up for additional skills. But you're right in that we're talking, so now that they've reduced the cost down to 25%, they also reduced a lot of earnouts
Right.
to 25%.
Right.
But, they're like, maybe it's 10 hours now. That's still a very long time to unlock, this
That's still
this one
10 hours of
specific hero.
frustration and
Right.
anger.
10 hours of playing like the worst kind of like, I have the shittiest character ever, now I can unlock this one for this one specific thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think this is a good sign for gamers in that people are making it very clear that they're not happy about microtransactions that change gameplay balance, and I think developers will be paying attention to this, very close attention.
Absolutely.
Voices were heard. That's a good thing.
Yep. And, and it did take things escalating to the point where, BBC is covering this, but it got there because people were making their voices heard across social media.
Right. So, two things. What is the best case scenario for how these return? And then what is the more likely, what do we think is actually going to happen? I think best case scenario is they're like all cosmetics, no more star cards.
That's the ideal. That is the best possible case scenario for that, where there is so there's 3 different types of crates that you can get if they make it so you can never get those with the crystal currency, and they make maybe a 4th type of crate, and that's your sweet ass skins.
Yeah, you just have costumes and shit.
And costumes and all that. And that can only be purchased with these crystals. That's best case scenario.
Yep.
More likely they'll reduce the costs of each thing for in-game credits.
I'm hoping that we end up on the best case scenario here. I think they have a lot of goodwill they need to re-earn, and I think that they need to make good, and they need to put their best foot forward. So I'm hoping that we get a best case scenario.
I would really love to see that. I would. I think it's going to be an uphill battle for sure, because they lost a lot of goodwill really quickly. A lot of people wanted to be all about this game. Like, it's got the campaign, and you got your cool fights, and the graphics are amazing, and all that stuff. There's such good ingredients, and just this one thing really screwed the pooch.
Yeah, before, aside from the whole microtransaction talk, like coming out of E3, there was a lot of like they're addressing concern kind of sentiment,
right?
Where they're like they're kind of rebuilding that good faith, and then they came into this. So
yeah,
we'll see.
I don't think that the costumes thing is out of the question. In fact, my hope would be that in this conversation between Disney and EA, they were like, well, we could do this, but we need to be able to use the costumes.
Right.
And then you would hope that Disney would be like, all right, you need to sort this out.
Fix your shit.
Yeah, I'm sure Disney doesn't want a bunch of bad press surrounding Star Wars when
they've got a movie coming out next month.
Yeah.
People need to be happy and excited about Star Wars, not angry at it.
Oddly enough, maybe not oddly enough, I think people's anger is directed through the proper channels. I think people are angry at EA and not at Star Wars.
Correct.
Yeah,
I don't think
totally.
anyone's planning on boycotting the movie because they're mad at the game. I think that there's a very clear understanding of whose decision this was. But if Disney can lean on that decision and be like, we don't need any bad press around Star Wars right now, you fix it right now. That's good for all of us.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed. All right, we're going to return you to the regular podcast of the past, in which we talk about microtransactions as if they're still in the game, because they're going to be back in the game. And a lot of our concerns probably still stand. But we do have thoughts about like the game itself that are not horribly
remember, EA, it's in the game.
It's in the game. Star Wars Battlefront 2 is out this week. It is technically out tomorrow, or because we record the show on Thursday, and it's coming out for first members on Friday, today. And then, of course, it comes out, this episode will be out for everyone on Saturday. So, Star Wars Battlefront 2. The
pretty
newest
positive
game
reviews.
from EA and DICE. This is the follow-up to Star Wars Battlefront that they put out a couple of years ago. This game does a lot of things right in that they've added things like a campaign, and there's the cool like dogfights in space, and all that's really great. The graphics are lovely, and no one is going to talk about any of that stuff because it is also a damn train wreck.
Yes, they've had some PR issues lately would be putting it very mildly.
Yeah, and it's been sort of a snowball effect of what's been happening. So the main thing being microtransactions. So when several months ago, EA and DICE made the announcement that they were going to structure the game so that future DLC is free, which everyone likes, because it means that then the player base isn't split, that everyone gets to stay together. Because I think they learned a lot from the first Battlefront they put out and so on. And so they said it'll be better for everyone if we keep the player base together. So we're going to make all the DLC free. The catch, because there's a catch always. Is that instead of charging for the DLC, they're adding microtransactions to the game. And what that looked like, no one really knew, but the standard practice for microtransactions up to this point has been, in a multiplayer game, just don't affect the gameplay, don't affect the balance.
Right.
Cosmetics, people are now used to.
Like Overwatch.
Yes, I would argue that Overwatch really popularized the acceptance of cosmetic microtransactions as a way to offset costs of future development, things like the events they do, and you know, all the like new modes that they put out and that sort of thing. And so people are
It's really like the gold
to,
standard right now for that model.
Yes, so people are sort of used to expecting that and saying, okay, well, if that's what it is, then we're on board. Unfortunately for EA, and for, well, everyone who really wants to enjoy this game, that's not what it is. There are microtransactions in the game where, and it feels like everything funnels you to these microtransactions, and that's one of the frustrating points. But the microtransactions, you get these crates, and then you open the crates, or you know, you get credits, so you open the crates, or you get, it's a convoluted.
It's complicated.
You get credits that get you crates that then you open, and they can have stuff inside them, like they can have these star cards. Now, star cards affect your gameplay. There are examples out there of there's a star card that works. Admittedly, it's limited use in that it is for one ship in one mode, but it improves your ship's auto aim. That's a gameplay thing.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that is in these crates that are being driven largely by microtransactions. And you're limited, so you go through and you do different things in the game, and that's how you earn credits. And then you can spend the credits. You can, you unlock heroes or get these crates with star cards in them, whatever.
And I think what really started the shit show was when people realized how much you had to play in game if you didn't want to spend real money to unlock some of this stuff. And I think the first one that really blew up was someone commented that if you wanted to unlock Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader, because this is a fucking Star Wars game, that it would take 40 hours of gameplay in order to do so. And EA responded to their comment on Reddit and now has the most downvoted comment in Reddit history as a result of that. They were talking about just trying to justify, I guess, what they did.
Yeah, so I'll bring up here, this was a spreadsheet someone made based on, and this has now changed. EA did say they've changed some of the balancing a bit, but they made a spreadsheet for, for how they got to the 40 hours, for how long it takes to unlock.
I love me a good spreadsheet.
Yeah, Darth Vader specifically is one they were upset about. Now it says that so they did a whole bunch of math. The average Galactic Assault match length, which is 11 minutes, 9 seconds. The average credits per match, which is 275. The average credits per minute of gameplay, which is 25.04. But then the gameplay minutes required to earn a trooper crate, that's 4,000. That's 159.73 gameplay minutes. Gameplay minutes required to unlock one hero, 2,395.97.
And when they say
40 hours.
When they say gameplay minutes, that's like in a match, not just not including the in-between time.
Right.
Did you see the rough estimate someone did? It was like it's going to cost to unlock everything in the game. It will take 4,500 hours or $2,000.
Yes, and that is all shifting as well. So it can be a little challenging to keep up with the math at the moment. But let's see, open here. And then, yes, EA responded and ended up with the most downvoted comment on Reddit of all time. Congratulations, that is a record. That's something to be proud of. It was, last I checked, open.
Are you looking for the comment?
I am trying to open the comment.
I've got it right here.
Okay. It was, last time I checked it, like 680,000 downvotes.
They locked it. So that's where
okay.
it stopped, yeah.
Okay, so what do we get?
So then they're responding to that spreadsheet. They said, the intent is to provide players with a sense of pride and accomplishment for unlocking different heroes. As for cost, we selected initial values based upon data from the open beta and other adjustments made to milestone rewards before launch. Among other things, we're looking at average per player credit earn rates on a daily basis, and we'll be making constant adjustments to ensure that players have challenges that are compelling, rewarding, and of course attainable via gameplay. We appreciate the candid feedback and the passion the community has put forth around the current topics here on Reddit, our forums, and across numerous social media outlets. Our team will continue to make changes and monitor community feedback and update everyone as soon and as often as we can.
Yeah, I get the feeling that appreciation, I don't know if they're really feeling it all that much. Not sure they're appreciating the feedback they're getting. They actually, as this has been snowballing, did an AMA on Reddit, which went
on Wednesday. Yeah.
On Wednesday, which went about how you'd expect. Every response from EA got downvoted so heavily that they had to create additional posts rounding up the answers.
Which kind of sucks
because no one can see them.
You couldn't see it. Yeah.
Yeah, which is stupid.
Right. People trying to send a message, and that I understand. But
I get the sending a message, but
the thing though that I understand why people were continuing to send the message as even as they're getting answers is that the answers they felt very much like lip service, like platitudes. There were a lot of vague non-answers.
We should also mention that between these two events, EA also announced that they were going to reduce the number of credits needed in order to unlock those heroes.
Yeah, so they reduced them like 75%.
Yes.
So they reduced them down to a quarter, which is great. You know what else they reduced? The number of credits you earn beating the game to 25%.
Yes.
Unbelievable. Also, the other scandal that was happening during all this was people were upset and refunding the game digitally on EA's website. And then EA saw that this was happening and removed the button to refund the game.
Right, so you have to contact
so you have
support.
to contact them through support, either chat or phone call.
And then, of course, their staff is going to be completely overwhelmed. Let's say you have, let's just say you have 1,000 people who want to refund the game.
Right.
And I imagine it's many, many more than 1,000. But if you have 1,000 people and you've got 5 support staff working at the time, then the queues are going to be you're basically frustrating people into not refunding.
If you've got 1,000 people and it takes 5 minutes to take care of each customer, that's over 83 hours of work.
Right. So it's sort of snowballing. I think that there is a lot of things that EA is doing exactly the wrong way, and I think that there's a good chance that this could I don't know. Do you think this could ruin Battlefront?
I think, it seems to me that the multiplayer experience is already kind of ruined as a result of this. But I think that we'll see if people vote with their wallets or not. If people actually buy the game or if people get the DLC. I should mention, I guess, at this time that I was sent a code for this game by Microsoft.
Yes. We received one with the promotional Xbox One X of Microsoft's.
Right. I haven't been able to play it yet because as of the time of this recording, the game's still not out. So.
Yeah. I've had access to a bit of the game. Again, I also I got a code from Microsoft, not from EA, and I have EA access. And so I was able to play through part of the campaign and check out some of that stuff. I checked out the arcade mode, which that's another fun thing. So the main way that you get these heroes and get these crates to get these star cards and everything is these credits that you earn, right? And there's an arcade mode, which is also what they use for, as the game's downloading and it's not all the way done, it gets 30%. It's you can play it now. That's the one mode that they have available is this arcade mode where it's sort of objective-based, offline, but it plays out like multiplayer. You're on a side and you try and, shoot a bunch of dudes.
So you're playing against computers.
Yes, and complete objectives, and that will reward you with credits. Until you top out for the day, and they're you can come back in however many hours. There's a cooldown timer on how many credits you can earn via the arcade mode.
How many matches do you play before you hit that cooldown?
I am not 100%
If the answer is the cooldown happens at all, it's bullshit.
It's bullshit.
Totally.
So this actually went around a whole bunch yesterday. A friend of the friend of Rooster Teeth, Boogie, Boogie.
Oh yeah, I know Boogie.
He was playing on Twitch and he hit the cooldown timer. And so there's actually a clip on Twitch of the cooldown timer, and I think
here it is.
So here it is coming up now, and I, if I recall correctly, this is a cooldown timer that gives him 3 hours.
Yeah, it's a 3-hour timeout.
Yeah,
more credits available in 3 hours.
However,
where does it say that?
It's the second line.
The second line there in the middle.
Oh my God!
More credits available in 3 hours, but I've actually seen. Just people take a photo of their screen with a 14-hour cooldown.
Jeez.
So they top out.
What's the delineation there?
They don't want you.
Not sure. They're
getting too many credits without using your credit card.
Well, why are some people 3 hours and some people 14 hours?
I don't know.
Don't know.
All right.
Don't know yet. I think a lot of these things will become much more clear as people get into the game and are able to.
It's to provide you with a
compare
sense of pride and
experiences.
accomplishment.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I do want to make a quick correction here.
Okay.
Ben just sent me a link to an article that was run on VG247.com saying that there never was a refund button in Origin for Star Wars Battlefront 2.
There was a link on Reddit that was like, here's a button to refund your
Right, that's been proven false. That's
Okay,
been
gotcha.
debunked.
So that is actually just.
And yeah, VG247 has an article about it here saying how that's not the way refunds work on Origin and showing that the button was never there to begin with.
Got it.
So
Interesting.
yeah.
There's there's actually even more like fake controversy surrounding this as well, where there was a developer who claimed to receive death threats, but then he wasn't a developer.
It turns out he doesn't work for EA.
Right.
Do you hear about this guy? He was there was
Big
the
Sean
yeah
or
Big
something like that?
Sean
66?
something
Yeah.
tweeted out that they're like, I'm up to 3 death threats and like 1,000 1,000 threats against me, something all because people didn't like a mechanic in a video game. And it was, I believe it was actually Jason Schreier from Kotaku was looking into it, like went back through the Twitter history, trying to like compare some of the conflicting information that this person had posted about their work with EA, contacted EA, who has no record of this person. They have no idea who this would be. Ended up getting in touch with Big Sean, who then removed any mention of EA and privated his account.
Yeah, they say that person's account is now privated. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, so it was a thing that went around, which, don't get me wrong, I would be very surprised if public-facing representatives of EA have not received death threats.
I agree.
Over Battlefront 2. We've seen it happen way too much. We saw, Call of Duty. The people have, quite famously posted the responses from their community of gamers when they would like rebalance the reload time on a sniper rifle, something like that. That then they would get death threats over things like that. So with as much as going on with EA, I'd be surprised if that hasn't happened. I don't like that. I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah, right. I hope that this.
But that particular case was not true.
Correct.
We've seen a lot of controversy like this surrounding games, and I hope that one of these days, maybe it's this one, like this will affect the game in some way where they're forced to make changes moving forward. Well,
they may be in this case. They're now getting to the point where shareholders are concerned. And Ben, if you can look up for me, there was an interesting quote, and this came out of it was like a Forbes or like a stockholder tracking firm that was saying that they don't usually worry about Star Wars too much. They don't worry about review scores and things like that because whatever, it's Star Wars. But that they're actually starting to be worried about this because of the social media backlash.
I'll see what I can find.
Okay. And so it may, like if this affects their stock price, then they will be incentivized to change things. The other thing that a lot of gamers recommend is either, there's usually one of two routes people take. One, don't buy the game.
You're right.
Just skip it entirely. Vote with your wallet.
So I actually have
Okay,
the
you
quote
have the
here you're
quote?
talking about. It was at a Bank of America Merrill Lynch investor meeting. The EA CFO was asked about the issue, and one analyst, Justin Post, wrote, "Management highlighted game depth and quality, but did not provide an update on unit expectations. As for the Battlefront 2 hero cost controversy, EA indicated the original hero costs were established based on targeted rate of gameplay progression and balance, not economics." Post added, "We see recent controversies as a potential risk for unit sales versus buy-side expectations, although EA has conservative estimates for Battlefront live services." So yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
they're
so
calling them out,
they're
saying
basically
that they
saying
are.
like, we think this is going to tank unit sales.
Who was this? So a different analyst, this is Michael Olson, wrote, "Early reviews have been impacted by negative sentiment around a character progression system that publications and consumers believe overemphasize microtransactions. We believe review scores for a game like Star Wars Battlefront are less important given the strength of Star Wars brand, but recognize the negative sentiment is a challenge."
That's such a crazy, what a weird way to think. We don't care how people review our game because it's Star Wars. People buy it anyway. Man,
But they're also not wrong.
I hope they are.
I mean,
Like
look at-
at some point.
If you look at it to some degree, like in the first Battlefront they put out 2 years ago, it sold 14 million units, and it was widely considered to be an empty game.
Yeah.
Beautiful, fun for a couple minutes, but the player base fell off very, very quickly because there was no staying power. There just wasn't enough depth to the game. And it still, in spite of all that, sold 14 million units.
Yeah, it's crazy. I guess you're right. I mean,
And that's on the strength of being
Star Wars. You're right.
So I understand where they're like, the reviews are really going to be an issue, but because there are a lot of people out there who are just going to be like, Star Wars, great, and buy it.
Yeah, I mean, think about it, right? Like you said, it had 14 million sales. That's way bigger than 680,000 downvotes.
Yes, it is. And that's one of the things that's coming up is people asking, like, what can I do to, make my voice heard? How can we let EA know that this is not okay? So people are saying, usually it's one of the two routes. It's either don't buy the game, give it a skip entirely, or if you want to buy the game, buy it, but don't buy microtransactions, which, if you ask me, is a bunch of people who don't want to miss out. They've got like a little bit of FOMO. They don't want to like not get the game because like what if they like it? But figure maybe that's enough. Honestly, I don't think that's going to be enough.
No, I agree.
I think that buying the game and handing over the $60 to $80, whatever, is not going to. That doesn't make a dent.
no.
In EA's revenue from this game at all. I think that if it's not going to be 677,000 people who, like all the people who downvoted that comment weren't necessarily all going to buy it and then decided based on that not to. So that's what, let's say it was 500,000 out of 14 million. It's
like less than 4%.
Yeah, and so if they're like, oh, well, sales are down 4%, and that's assuming that everyone who downloaded that was a purchaser and is now not a purchaser. Like it's really frustrating to feel like your numbers don't matter.
And I know I'm going to get shit for this. I know I made the downvote comparison here in the sense of the larger number, but it is just one website. So, I mean, we'll see how that sentiment goes across to all other websites and people who don't have Reddit accounts or, don't read it and don't interact there.
Yeah, so I think the real risk as something like this is, we all buy the game and agree not to just gentleman's agreement. We're going to not buy microtransactions. I don't know that EA doesn't miss out on that because they were probably relying on the microtransactions of like 1% of players anyway. In fact, there was a really interesting, actually very cool thread by a game designer who works for, I think, like Boss Fight. I'll look it up in a second. But he designs microtransactions for free-to-play games and had some thoughts specifically on EA's implementation. And he was saying, so his name is Damian Schubert, and we'll link to the thread in the link dump. He says, let's talk about loot boxes and how annoying it is to watch AAA publishers fuck them up from the perspective of someone who has to design them. I've been working in free-to-play games for 4 years, and loot boxes are pretty crucial to that business model working. But it is possible to do them ethically, and they are super easy to fuck up. The number one mistake that I've seen in free-to-play games is devs who don't understand that not spending is normal play. Most of your customers will never give you a dime. The Zynga Facebook games that used to spam your feed were a success if they had a conversion rate of 2%. A successful business model if 98% of your population never drops a dime. Things have edged up since then, and people designing these have gotten more sophisticated, but we're still in a world where the guys who plan microtransactions are delighted if 5% spend. What it means, though, is that the non-spendy version of the game is the norm. The game that you see as a non-spender is what 90% plus of your consumers will see. And Dungeon Keeper on mobile, remember that one that was the microtransaction nightmare, failed because what those people saw was a game where spending was absolutely mandatory, and that view of the game killed the game because that 90% plus of the population is your game's virality. They're your word of mouth. If you're free players, or in the case of Battlefront, your box spenders have a negative reaction, it can kill your word of mouth, it can tank your reviews, etc. And some people think that game devs don't care about keeping that 90+%, but that's not true. Most of the games need those non-spendy players because they're multiplayer games. In MMOs, you need people so that dungeon keys will fire. In PvP, you need enough people to make a match and matchmake them with appropriate enemies. And it's much more true in AAA games where the PvP is synchronous So what Battlefront got wrong was to put content that people consider core behind a hugely long grind path. They missed that this would be seen as the normal game.
And that's exactly what everyone jumped on.
Yeah, and he also notes very accurately that once you go into microtransactions, players will rightly start to suspect that microtransactions are your motives for everything, and everything is driving you to spend more money, because in most of the case,
it is.
It is.
Yep.
They're not locking you out of arcade mode because you shouldn't be playing it because it's better for your health to take a break. They're locking you out of it so that you will spend money with them, because they want to limit the number of ways you can get credits without it.
Right, that's why you get like a 3-hour timeout in arcade mode and stuff like that.
I watched a video that sort of highlighted how egregious some of the star cards are, where the first part of the video is a player playing with normal Boba Fett, no microtransactions Boba Fett, and like time to kill was really slow. Like he would sit there and just pelt enemies for 10, 15 seconds and nothing would happen, and he would get killed. Then he went and bought some microtransactions, and his like time to kill went to like 2 to 3 seconds. It was insanity, the advantage that he got from microtransactions.
Yeah, and these, you can earn the credits, you can spend them on the crates, and you can get star cards without spending, but it's gonna take you, hundreds or thousands of hours to get what someone who just will drop $100 could get, and that's why people get upset about pay-to-win mechanics. Is that it means that you can't trust the game that you're playing to be fair,
right,
to be even, and once that trust is gone, why would you keep playing?
And it's a multiplayer focused game.
It
so
is.
like, I don't know, sucks.
It sucks in a lot of ways too, because there are some really great things about Battlefront 2. Specifically, I've been playing the campaign, and I really like it. I think that the graphics are stunning. I really enjoyed the gameplay. There's a lot of really cool variation just in the opening missions that you get to see all of the different things. You get to infiltrate a rebel ship, and as a spy assault, and then escape, and then you get to do some fights in space in your TIE fighter, and then you get to go and fight on Endor, and so there are all these really cool gameplay mechanics. I quite like the story so far. I like them taking the time to explore more of the Empire's perspective. And I think it's really cool to see. I know they've done it a little bit here and there before, but for the most part, Star Wars spends its time focusing on the perspective of the rebels.
I will say, Ben just sent me a link. We talk about that website, howlongtobeat.com, all the time. It lists the campaign for Battlefront 2 at 4 hours.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so for me that's probably like 6. So I don't know, maybe I'm like half done.
Yeah. So you might be further along than you know.
Or maybe. But I think so far it's been a lot of fun, and the performance is great. The girl who plays Iden is awesome. She's doing a really great job.
She killed it at E3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's unfortunate in a lot of ways that there's this good game inside, but it's bolted on to the Battlefront 2 multiplayer bullshit that nobody wants and is going to suffer as a result. And you know what's going to come out of that? Sales are going to go down, and EA is going to be like, look, people didn't want single player. They didn't bother buying it. Oh, well. That's what I worry about anyway, is that, they'll take completely the wrong lessons from this.
Yeah. There weren't enough loot boxes.
Do you think Battlefront 2 could be saved if they pulled an audible and somehow miraculously in the next 5 hours took pay-to-win microtransactions out of the game?
I think it's still possible to save it. I think they could do that, but I think that we won't see anything like that. They're going to wait and see what sales are like initially for the first week, and then maybe make an adjustment.
I don't know if that game is very good. I played a lot of the beta, and I think for me at least, I think I still have the same problems that I have with Battlefield, and that is there's so much happening in one big battle that your contributions, 95% of the time, feel insignificant. Unless you're in a tank and getting a lot of kills or something like that,
It's got to be a team player.
Totally, but
It's like Yeah.
There's a lot of times where you just like going into battle and you get killed, then you're respawning and repeat and repeat and repeat. I'm bad at it, to be fair, but like also I just feel like a lot of the design around Battlefront and Battlefield is not for everyone, especially not for like someone who wants their contribution to feel significant.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's where we're at with Battlefront. I think for me, this is feeling an awful lot like the new No Man's Sky. It's a game that a lot of people were excited about, that felt like it was doing a lot of the right things.
Seems like they learned from the previous game.
It seemed like they'd learned a lot. They were putting in the things that people wanted, and then
They put in some things that people didn't want.
Coming out of E3, it was like, wow, they're addressing problems. It's amazing. Fast forward 6 months.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. So I think I don't know. For me, if I had to choose, like, to drop my money on it and play the campaign and stay out of the multiplayer entirely, I can't do it. I really like the campaign, but if I had to make a choice there of putting my money down or just refusing and moving on to one of the other amazing games that would very much like my time, I'm gonna do that. I can't justify spending that much on especially a particularly short campaign when I don't want to touch the multiplayer because I don't trust it.
There's too many other good games to play.
There's so many good games.
Too many
right
other
now.
great options this year, and I hope EA. I really, really want EA to take the right lessons from this. But we'll see. Who knows? Maybe they'll shut down DICE next and buy another studio. Anyway, that's just what's happening in one game this week. No joke. Pretty much all the news has really just gravitated, fallen into that well for Battlefront 2. But there is a lot of other stuff to talk about. But you don't want to talk about these things unless you're properly prepared. We're talking about being clothed right, so that you look really stylish, And that's why this episode of Glitch Please is brought to you also by the Rooster Teeth store, where conveniently enough, you can get things like clothes.
Roosters.
Yeah, that's right.
And teeth.
And teeth. Honestly, we put out so much awesome new merch, especially this time of year. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on, lots of great sales. There's new stuff every single week. And yes, we talk about like T-shirts. That's like the main thing that's really easy, because T-shirts are a lot of fun. But we also do like hoodies and collectibles and socks. Everyone, come on, everyone loves socks. Or Couch Hop squiggly cups. There's all kinds of really fun stuff in the store. And it's also, if there is another Rooster Teeth fan in your life who you're starting to shop for Christmas gifts for, and you're like, hey, I know they like Rooster Teeth, or I know they like Achievement Hunter, or the Couch Hops, or the Fun Houses of the world, then you already know what to get them to make them happy. And you can get it at store.roosterteeth.com. And if you're a Rooster Teeth First member, you can not only get the latest and greatest merch, you also get 5% off at checkout. So you can get all that, save some money. Really, if you think about it, the more you spend, the more you save.
It's simple math.
It is simple math. And no microtransactions at all. You get exactly the thing that you pay for. All right, and honestly, I need to go raid the merch. Like the merch department, and just take all the new stuff, because I really like, in particular, for me, the new Barbara collection.
Oh yeah, there's some good stuff in there.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. They're very much my style, so I'm loving those. But we've also got a lot of new stuff coming out for the holidays. So keep an eye on that. That's store.roosterteeth.com. Now, let's talk about some news. All right, I was not joking when I said that there's so much stuff happening with Battlefront 2 that a lot of other news has fallen by the wayside, but there are 3 things to discuss of interest. One is that Nintendo is getting ambitious again. So earlier this year, it's been an issue with Nintendo Switch basically since launch. It's now getting a lot better, that there just hasn't been enough hardware out there for people to buy, so we're having constant sellouts. They couldn't keep it on shelves, and that was, of course, limiting the number of hardware sales they could make, which then limits the number of software sales that they can make, and so on and so forth.
It's a vicious cycle.
It's a vicious cycle, but it's it's a cycle that Nintendo goes through an awful lot. They just can't seem to keep hardware on shelves. In fact, the SNES Classic got restocked at Walmart yesterday. gone in a minute.
Wow. I still don't have one. I haven't been trying very hard, but yeah.
So, it's a kind of a frustrating thing for a lot of people, but Nintendo's gotten a lot better about it recently. They have been talking about doubling the number of hardware units they're manufacturing and shipping. I think they're really, in particular, driving towards holiday because this is the Switch's first holiday period. There's a new Mario game out, which means that in addition to gamers, like families, mainstream consumers are going to start looking for it, and they're going to be... I tend to think of like a lot of mainstream like gift buying people as having a lot less patience.
Right.
Like gamers will sit there and like wait and wait. And if your mom can't get you that, she'll get you something else. So they're trying to address that.
It's the most dreaded thing as a kid is like, will your mom get the right thing or not?
Right. And you're just like, oh God. Like I asked for a PlayStation, but she's like, here, have a Wii.
Yeah, here's an
It's
Ouya.
basically the same thing. Yeah, have a Ouya. It's this new thing I read about online.
Or there's like all those predatory devices that have very similar names.
Yeah, or it's like, hey, look, I got you an Atari. You remember having one of those when you, I don't know, I guess with that voice, it'd be like, when you were like negative 15.
Hey,
you remember that?
I had an Atari.
Right, but does your mom use that voice with you?
No.
Okay.
Because I was under the negative 15.
But they've been working on it, and now they're adjusting their expectations way up.
Oh, yeah, I
Like
imagine.
way up. Like as in they think they might be able to sell 30 million a year of these.
Jesus.
Now I'm gonna pull up some stats really quickly because just to put that into perspective. Search.
So as you're looking that up, Ben just sent me a link. Apparently, there's already a knockoff Nintendo Switch in China. It looks exactly the same. It's like a little screen with controllers on the side. It's just the Morphous X300.
At least it's not called something like similar.
Yeah, the Nintendo Nwitch.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like we said, it's also $299.
Jesus.
What?
Yeah, so
That's
What games?
Switch price.
What kind of games it's got?
let's see.
Apparently, it's an Android-based 3D gaming tablet.
There you go. So it's like a Ouya.
Ugh.
That's impressive. So what they're planning now is for the Nintendo Switch to sell as many as 30 million units, which puts it on par. So the reason for this is that they think it's now going to sell more like a handheld than like a console, which I think is accurate. I think that it has the benefit that consoles have, which is being able to use it, at home on your big screen TV and get that nice experience. But because you can take it on the go, it has the possessiveness of a handheld. Like I don't want someone else playing my Switch. I'm not going to lend it to someone and be like, here, you take it. Like, no, that's mine.
Yeah.
In the same way that like I wouldn't share my 3DS.
Yeah, absolutely. And and I know you can add multiple users and have like different user logins on it, but still, I'm the same way. I'm like, no, nobody else gets to play. Like, I don't trust anyone to screw up my save or do something.
Well, but also then because then I don't have it, and what if I feel like playing it? And so I think that initially Nintendo figured it would be treated more like a console that you could take with you, and now it's a handheld that you can plug in. So that seems like a really minor shift in mentality, but it means that they're wildly readjusting their sales expectations. So
More in line, with other traditional handhelds that they're used to.
Yeah,
What if this
so
is
they're
gonna
looking
shift?
at perhaps as many as 30 million Switches next year, and that's like PS2 levels. That's like the kind of sales that the Wii was doing. So it's absolutely enormous considering that their initial forecast for their first year was 10 million.
Yeah. I mean, they've had a really good year. That's like inarguable. I've had to come back and play my Switch many more times than I played my other console. Do you think this is going to shift the way they develop games? Like, is it going to shift away from the 3DS a
Yeah,
little
but
bit?
I'm hoping that we start to see more of a shift away from the 3DS. I think initially they may have been afraid that the price point would keep people away, and that's why they were kind of maintaining this dual platform between the Switch and the 3DS. But I think they're starting to see with the adoption and this future growth that they can invest in the Switch as a handheld platform as well. Which and I don't blame them for being timid about that and for being scared. But hopefully this will just accelerate fucking Animal Crossing for my Nintendo.
We just got an Animal Crossing, dude.
Well, and and we're hoping that that's the canary.
That's
that
the
means
good
that
one.
they'll
No, yeah.
that January, February they'll have a Nintendo Direct and announce Animal Crossing, date Metroid Prime 4, and what else? So 30 million is a lot. They think they're going to do it largely off the back of they've got Zelda, they've got Mario, so those are two of their heavy hitters that they got out in their launch year. What games is it going to take to move 30 million a year to? I think it's Smash Brothers.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What are they going to put out next year? Then I mean, they haven't announced Smash Brothers,
Pokemon.
but they haven't.
They haven't announced.
They
Smash
said
Brothers
Pokemon
yet.
was going to be like way late.
Well, they said they haven't started working on it yet, and they're trying to figure out like what they can do. But
I don't want them to rush out of Pokemon. I want if I'm going to get a proper Pokemon for the Switch, I want it to be like something new.
so you think that's going to be 2019?
I do.
So I think we could conceivably see a Mario Party next year. Once we start to see like less supply constraint and more people with the console.
Do you think we'd even? I don't think we'd see Metroid Prime next year or Metroid next year.
I mean, we could see a Metroid, but yeah, I don't think we're going to see that anytime soon.
I think maybe they'll port Monster Hunter World over to it.
I could see that working.
Yeah, because that's definitely a big 3DS game that people.
Yeah, I'm looking through other
darling.
franchises here, trying to see what else they could do. Maybe a Star Fox game?
Do you think Star Fox is a unit mover?
I don't know.
Not
I think it
anymore.
appeals to the base, though.
I mean,
I think
when was the last good Star Fox game?
The first one?
it's been a while. It has been a while.
I mean, every
But, I mean,
single one of them was
Well,
swapped.
let's say this then. I mean, Metroid had that curse as well for a long time until Retro started developing Metroid games. So maybe we're primed for a Metroid-style renaissance for Star Fox, for a new developer to come in and take the reins.
Maybe it would be nice. It would be really nice. I think it's a good property for them to like if they can just revitalize it. I would like to see, and I also don't think it's a unit mover, but I'd like to see a properly licensed F-Zero. There was a Fast RMX, the game that came out with Switch. It was a launch title, and it felt a lot like F-Zero, which was great because it scratched the itch a little bit, but then it just made me think, well, then license it, like name it, like let's get the F-Zero back. I want some Captain Falcon in my
Right.
life.
Yeah.
I don't think it's completely out of the question that we might get a 2D Zelda game. Something like a Link Between Worlds.
That would be dope.
That would be dope.
Yes. No, I'd be down for that. I mean, I'm looking through other Nintendo franchises. I mean, maybe you'd get a Kirby, but again, I don't think that's necessarily a huge unit mover. What we could do is we could see some one-offs from existing franchises. Like on the Wii U, we had Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, Yoshi's Woolly World, which were great games. Again, appealing to the base, not necessarily going for
But
new
they
audience.
also, like that sort of thing, though, does at least drive up attach rate,
Yeah.
which generates revenue for them to be able to keep.
I just saw Ben said that Kirby for Nintendo Switch is coming out 2018.
Right.
Kirby Star
looks-
Allies.
That one, I don't know if that's a system mover either. It seems like a value add. But there's also a bunch of, I mean, they're flooding it with indie games now, which is a huge ad for people. Like things like Darkest Dungeon is coming to it. I'm excited about that. Hopefully Dead Cells will come out for it.
Yeah, I think that what I don't want to see happen, because we're seeing like suddenly like Bethesda's got their games and they're releasing, and then we're gonna have a whole bunch of other third parties being like, hey, great, because everyone's taking notice of how well the Switch is doing and also how well games are selling on the Switch. What I don't want to see is the return of the Wii games library.
It's like a dump of crap.
shovelware.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And I think they've done a pretty good job so far of the higher profile games that have come out. I've had a great experience with really all of them.
Yeah.
And I want that to last. But I think a lot of that's going to be on Nintendo, because Nintendo, out of all the publishers or out of all the platforms, has the strongest first party library.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that's what you buy a Nintendo console for, is for Nintendo's games. All the other stuff, I want it. It's great. I want as much of it as I can get. But Nintendo games are the backbone.
Speaking of which, maybe we can finally see some Virtual Console.
Oh God, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, that would help.
Oh, they're gonna need to stop selling out of SNES Classic.
God, I want my SNES Classic. One day. If I can find it, potentially.
They said they've made so many more of them.
Where are they?
Yeah, I don't know.
They're probably on
Get in a
eBay.
minute,
I'll
yeah.
take one.
So we'll see about that. But let me look. Where did my? Okay, here's where my notes are. But on the note of all the different games is GameStop, one of their one of their biggest business verticals is their used games, right? That's where they make a lot of their money. And they recently introduced this Power Pass. I think that's what it's called. It's like a used game subscription where you could, treat it like a library where you have the subscription and then you can go in and basically check out a used game.
Okay.
As many of these different used games as you want and play them. And they were just treating it like a Netflix,
Sure.
something like or a Blockbuster. You check it out and then you go play it and then you bring it back and then you take another one. And they just shut it down.
Did they shut it down? I heard the words
it's
paused.
Yes, paused, but they're pulling down all mentions of it, all point of sale. And I don't think it's because it didn't do well. I think it's a software limitation. They found out that their software just can't handle it.
Here's the official response from GameStop on it is, thank you, Ben sent this to me, by the way. We have elected to temporarily pause the rollout of the new Power Pass subscription service based on a few program limitations we have identified. We feel this is the right thing to do for now to ensure we are able to provide our guests an exceptional service. Those guests who have already purchased the service, we are allowing them to bring the pass and video games they have checked out back to receive a full refund. In addition, we are allowing them to pick out any pre-owned video game for free.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's a pretty great make good if you had some problems you need to.
Right.
It really is. It really is. But yeah, it comes down to, I think, maybe they underestimated the demand for it early on, or the worst thing is when you test something and it works, and then you realize at scale that your system just can't handle it, and what do you do? So it's on pause, but I worry that it's on pause until they get a completely new.
Kotaku reported that the employees were told to take all the signage down, but not to throw it away. It's all stored in the back.
Okay, well that's a good sign.
Right, because you just can't sell it right now, so why advertise it?
And also, some employees speculated to Kotaku that it was the company's antiquated computers couldn't keep up and handle it. So it may be the kind of thing where they need to upgrade an internal.
That'll be very expensive.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, think of a lot of these internal systems like cash registers and stuff that a lot of businesses use. They're still ancient.
Yep. A lot of them still run on XP and things like that.
Or
that.
Windows CE or some ancient shit.
Running on DOS.
That's actually a pretty smart program, though. If you have a bunch of used stock you're sitting on, why not make money on it?
It seems like
it's sitting around?
it was $60 for 6 months, based on what I can see. I don't know. The information's all gone from their website.
Yeah, so it's basically for the price of 2 retail games a year, you can have access to this entire backlog of pretty much every game that's ever been made, because by a week after launch, someone's selling games back.
And after 6 months, you get to keep one of those games.
Sounds like a great service.
It really is, I think, a pretty good deal as far as those things go, because the used game prices, they do tend to be
here's $5 a little
much.
10
Yeah.
bucks off.
Yeah.
10 bucks. So if you can do that and be able to check out and play all these games and have the experiences, that's great. The other question then being, it does seem a little weird to me that they might potentially be eating into their own revenue potential with a program like this.
I think a program like this is aimed at Redbox and taking away people who go to Redbox and rent a game for a couple of days and return it there. I think if they get them over to the GameStop ecosystem, they'll make less money per customer, but they can grow their customer base quite a bit.
And I know that's on an ongoing basis a huge, I think a huge priority for GameStop, because so much of new game sales is going digital, and that means that that's entirely vanishing from the retail ecosystem. So they're looking for a lot of new ways to generate revenue and stay afloat.
So it was $60 for 6 months.
Also, you can count on a certain number of those customers not taking full advantage of the service. So one customer rents a game for 3 months and pays $60. It's oh well, that's a lot of money.
Oh, it's like a gym.
Yeah.
So that's I'm very curious to see what happens with that. And then just the final point of news that I think is worth discussing is CD Projekt Red is hinting that they'll return to the world of The Witcher. So you need to get that Witcher 3 played.
Dude, yeah.
But they said
it's not going to be Witcher 4.
Right.
So the world of The Witcher.
I love Geralt though. He's a good guy. I don't want to move away from Geralt's story.
Yeah, but
the universe is so big.
Yeah.
that world
and
that they've created.
his story feels pretty complete.
Yeah.
So, but what would you want to see in a Witcher game that's not about Geralt? In a way that means that we don't Mass Effect Andromeda this franchise.
I'm trying to look up to see what their specific.
I don't really know.
Wrote about it.
However, there is one thing I would like to see, and that is like a remaster of the first game, because I came to that first game pretty late, and it didn't feel great to play.
I think that's actually maybe a smart idea. I think The Witcher 3 reached such a critical mass and such a wide audience.
Yeah.
Maybe it would be good to go back and remaster and bundle the older games to get people.
I would almost say remake
Well,
that first game.
there's a lot of people who hopped on with Witcher 2, and more people who hopped on with Witcher 3.
Yeah.
And I think they did a good job of onboarding new players. But I am an example of someone who I didn't play the first one. Because I caught on to it later, and sometimes it's difficult to go back to an older game that's then you can see the dating, you can see a little bit of the age, and that it's not quite as polished. But I still would like to experience that story. So depending on whether it's a practical from a potential sales standpoint for them to do it, I'd love to see them bring remaster and maybe tweak the older games for new release.
So the quote by the CEO of CD Projekt Red was, "It's too early to talk about it, but it's not like we're forgetting about this brand. It wouldn't be fair towards the fans. We work within this universe for over a dozen years now, and I don't think it's going to be the end of it." So it seems pretty much like it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm excited for them to focus on a new IP though, because Cyberpunk looks incredible, and I think they also mentioned that I think they said something along the lines of like games need online services these days. So I'm hoping that means that Cyberpunk they're gonna go whole hog and just be like, Cyberpunk's an MMO, great.
That was going to be my suggestion for a Witcher, for another Witcher game.
Like a Witcher
like
World?
a MMO style game.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Interesting.
Super amazing. But at the very least, hopefully, Cyberpunk has some sort of online cooperative elements where it's sort of like Dark Souls-y, where you're living in this world where you see like shadows of other players, but not necessarily like directly interacting with them.
Well, they have spoken. Or if they haven't spoken about it, I think there have been like some trademarks and about like what they've got going with Cyberpunk, which at the very least means there's like some sort of like there's like a community hub area that it is online.
Right.
So how that's gonna all fit together, they're not talking about just yet, but there are absolutely gonna be online elements.
Yeah, can't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pretty excited about that. All right, next week is Thanksgiving week. So keep an eye out for all of that. We will have an episode. It is pre-recorded. It's probably going to be a little bit shorter than usual, but we'll talk about all things that we're thankful for and, really get into the spirit of Thanksgiving. And we will, of course, have a new episode of New Game Plus exclusively for Rooster Teeth First members on the website. If you're not a Rooster Teeth First member yet, you can get a free trial so you can check it out and see if it's for you. And we'll have more of that coming up as well. And just want to say big thanks to everyone who's watching and sending in questions for us and all that. We're having a really good time with video games, even when we have stuff like Star Wars Battlefront 2 that can be really frustrating. So we'll see you guys next week.